Russia said it remains committed to provide humanitarian support to the Armenian population in the Nagorno-Karabakh region. In Australia, firefighters continue their efforts to contain several fires in the southeastern regions. And in southeastern Nepal, authorities declared a curfew following clashes between Hindus and Muslims. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Colombia, the government made a public apology for the cases of extrajudicial executions perpetrated against young residents of Bogota and Soacha during the government of Álvaro Uribe. The event, which took place in the Plaza de Bolívar in Bogota, was presided over by Colombian President Gustavo Petro. At the meeting, the Colombian state acknowledged its responsibility for the crimes. The action corresponds to one of the restorative measures demanded in 2015 by the Administrative Court of Cundinamarca as part of the case of one of the victims. This sentence had been disobeyed by previous governments. Data provided by the Special Jurisdiction for Peace estimate that there are more than 6,000 cases of false positives registered. In Colombia, Security Minister Iván Velázquez Gómez apologized to the Colombian people for the extrajudicial executions in 2008 and 2011.
Today we ask for forgiveness, not only to the families of these 19 men, but also to an entire country that lived through the horror of criminality and extrajudicial executions.
In Brazil, on Tuesday, October 3rd, a joint strike of subway workers, sanitation workers, and university workers and students is taking place in Sao Paulo. This strike responds to the plan of measures of the extreme right-wing governor of Sao Paulo, Tarcísio de Freitas, who intends to massively privatize essential public enterprises by 2025. These privatizations mean further deepening of the precariousness of essential public services with the excuse of greater efficiency. In response, the subway workers, the professors and students of the University of Sao Paulo, and the workers of the sanitation company began a joint strike on Tuesday, which started in force in the morning. The government of Kenya has welcomed the authorization by the United Nations Security Council to deploy a multinational armed contingent to Haiti to combat criminal gang violence. In a message issued after the UN body approved the deployment of the force in the Caribbean country, Kenyan President William Ruto called on the Haitians not to be abandoned, while reiterating that this mission is a foundational intervention to create the necessary conditions for Haiti to consolidate its development and governance.
For us in Kenya, this mission is of a special significance and critical urgency. We experienced the harrowing brunt of colonialism, as well as the long, difficult, and frustrating struggle for freedom against those that can influence international institutions to frustrate justice. In our struggle, we always had friends, not an overwhelming multitude of powerful allies, yet nevertheless, true, loyal, and determined friends. The people of Haiti, our dear friends, today stand in need. It is our fundamental moral obligation to be their friend indeed by standing with them.
The United Nations Security Council approved Tuesday the deployment of a multinational force to combat gangs in Haiti. The effectiveness of a decision like this, which have failed in the past, is once again called into question. Despite the optimism expressed by many Haitians, UN authorities, and a number of governments around the world, the Caribbean nation has a long history of failed foreign interventions, including some based on alleged humanitarian purposes. That explains that an increase in number of political specialists and people in general begin to express their concern about the expected effectiveness of the UN decision to put an end to violence and rehabilitate institutionality in Haiti by means of a multinational mission. We cannot forget that in 2010, the UN established a peacekeeping mission to assist earthquake victims in the Caribbean country, and the subsequent accusation of its being responsible for the spread of the cholera epidemic and of being complicit in perpetrating sexual abuses against the local population. Other actors, such as non-governmental organizations and U.S. agencies established for several decades in Haiti, also do not fare well when their performance is evaluated. In Bolivia, the 10th Congress of the Movement Towards Socialism began under heavy security in the Coliseum of the town of Lauca, where more than 3,000 delegates from different organizations of the country arrived. According to Senator Leonardo Loza, this is the first time that the historic celebration has been held in the Tropic of Cochabamba, in the headquarters of the 6 federations of coca growers. In his opinion, there is a great possibility that Evo Morales will be ratified as president of MAS, IPSP, in the national meeting of his party, and that he will also be nominated as official candidate for the presidential elections of 2025. The 10th National Congress of MAS will be held on October 3rd, the 4th, and 5th in the locality of Lauca, in the municipality of Chinautoa, 86 kilometers from the city of Cochabamba. MAS will define its candidate for president of Bolivia in primaries. Argentine authorities report that oil and gas exports generated more than $1.8 billion between January and August. According to a report by the Chamber of Exploration and Production of Hydrocarbons of the South American country, the national treasury increased during the first 8 months of the year. In turn, authorities report that oil exports grew by 88% and gas exports by 43%. In this regard, in the first 8 months of the year, gas exports grew 1,267 billion cubic meters, were exported 6% of what was traded, valued at $377 billion. The increase in exports adds reserve for the central bank, in addition to representing more investment and work for this sector. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. In the United States, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Kevin McCarthy, was removed from office after a vote by legislators. With 216 votes in favor and 210 against, the legislature removed McCarthy as Speaker, something that had not happened in the United States for more than 100 years. Representative Patrick McHenry from North Carolina was appointed Speaker pro tempore of the lower house, while the next steps to be taken are determined due to the fact that there is no relevant successor to lead the House. The move came after the far-right conservative area of the Republican Party rejected a stopgap funding measure backed by the White House and members of the Democratic caucus to avoid a government shutdown. In Italy, a bus accident in Mestre, a suburb of Venice, killed at least 21 people and injured dozens more on Tuesday night. Local authorities reported that the bus was traveling with foreign tourists, including Ukrainians, and crashed when it fell from an elevated road. Among the victims were 2 children and citizens of various nationalities. At the moment, 4 of the injured are hospitalized in serious condition. Meanwhile, the mayor of Venice, Luigi Brognaro, stressed that the scene of the accident was apocalyptic and declared a state of mourning in his mayor's office. On Germany's National Unity Day, demonstrators rallied in front of the NATO military base in Kalkar to protest against the supply of arms to Ukraine. Protesters rejected the country's involvement in the hostilities through the supply of military equipment, which they say was fueling tensions between Russia and Ukraine. In addition, demonstrators expressed their opposition to NATO's policy of military confrontation and urged the alliance to stop getting involved in the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. They also condemned the growing militarization in Europe and NATO's eastward expansion. On Wednesday, firefighters in Australia continued their efforts to contain several fires in the southeastern region of the country. Authorities fear the situation could worsen due to weather conditions. The latest reports indicate that in New South Wales, the country's most populous state, the fire was burning out of control in the Bega Valley region. On Tuesday, local media reported that 3 houses had been destroyed and added that the damage extends to more than 5,200 hectares due to the current weather conditions. Firefighters warned that there is an increased risk of falling trees that could later become active fire outbreaks and highlighted they maintain their activities in different areas to stop the spread of the fire and to establish containment lines. In Armenia, deputies voted on Tuesday to join the International Criminal Court for strengthening relations with ally Russia. The Armenian parliament has voted to join the ICC, which earlier this year accused Russian President Vladimir Putin of war crimes for the deportation of children from Ukraine. The Russian president's spokesman therefore declared that the parliament's decision was wrong and not right from the point of view of bilateral relations. The Armenian authorities claim that their accession has nothing to do with Russia, but is motivated by tensions with neighboring Azerbaijan. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said no more Russian conscripts will be sent to the combat zone in Ukraine and no additional mobilization is currently planned. The announcement was made during a meeting with senior military staff on Tuesday. The high military official said Russia would begin to enlist for the first time residents of the incorporated territories as part of its twice-yearly military conscription campaign. Russia's defense ministry had said last week it would enlist 130,000 men for compulsory military service this fall that began on October 1st in most regions of the country. Shoigu also praised the work of Russian peacekeepers in Nagorno-Karabakh, saying that the ceasefire agreement was achieved through their mediation.
Through the mediation of Russian peacekeepers, the conflict parties managed to agree on a complete ceasefire. The evacuation of more than 98,000 civilians, including about 32,000 children, was organized from Nagorno-Karabakh to the territory of Armenia. The delivery of almost 300 tons of humanitarian cargo has been provided along the Akhtam and Lashin routes.
And Russia will remain committed to providing humanitarian support to the Armenian population in the Nagorno-Karabakh region, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed on Tuesday. Currently, Russian officials deployed in the region are working to ensure the flow of humanitarian aid and guarantee the departure of Armenians wishing to leave as well as the safety of those wishing to stay. Furthermore, according to a recent statement by the Kremlin, Russia is closely following Azerbaijan's statements about its desire to ensure the safety and rights of Armenians planning to stay in Nagorno-Karabakh. Meanwhile, the Russian Foreign Ministry informed that the Russian authorities determined the volume and nomenclature of the aid to the Armenian population in accordance with the needs expressed by Yerevan on October 2nd. However, the fear of ethnocide has caused that an estimated 120,000 residents of the region, more than 80%, displaced to Armenia. The 2023 Abu Dhabi International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference opened in the United Arab Emirates with the participation of 160,000 professionals and close to 2,200 companies from the energy sector from some 160 countries and regions. Themed Decarbonizing Faster Together, the 4-day event aims to promote collective action and solutions to address climate and energy challenges facing the world today, such as issues related to global energy security, green energy transformation, and sustainable development, amid oil production cuts announced by global major oil producers due to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The expo, which is the most influential oil exhibition in the Middle East and the third largest of its kind in the world, bears great significance to ensure the rising demand of countries to achieve green transformation and diversified development.
We have seen China's efforts to achieve transformation toward clean energy and to diversify its energy sources by using clean energy. We have great admiration for the steps China has taken. We hope to conduct more in-depth cooperation with the Chinese government and enterprises in the future to better learn from China's experience in energy transition.
We now have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Fun short break, go away. Welcome back from the south. A curfew was declared in southeastern Nepal due to clashes between Hindus and Muslims. Clashes began in the city of Nepal Gunj over the weekend after a Hindu boy posted content offensive to the Muslim community on social media, a situation that prompted protests by Muslims inside the offices of the region's main government administrator, burning tires in the streets and blocking traffic. In response, a larger Hindu demonstration was held on Tuesday, and stones and bottles were thrown between followers of both religions, according to local press reports. The clashes prompted the authorities to declare a curfew, and no new incidents have been reported to date. Iran's military launched large-scale joint drone exercises across the country aimed at improving combat readiness of unmanned aerial vehicles in real combat scenarios. The two-day exercises involve nearly 200 locally developed drones from Iran's Land Force, Air Force, Navy, and Army air defense units to assess combat readiness. During the first day of the exercises, the Army's patrol and reconnaissance drones carried out surveillance operations on nearby land, sea, and air borders. Meanwhile, Iranian military authorities released images during the exercises showing the deployment of drones to monitor U.S. warships in the northern Indian Ocean. The European Commission and the Ethiopian government have signed a cooperation agreement worth €650 million as part of the normalization of their relations following the end of the two-year war in Ethiopia's Tigray region. The European Commissioner for International Partnerships, Jutta Urpilainen, began her visit to Addis Ababa and met with Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the head of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki Mahamat. Former Finnish Finance Minister Urpilainen and Ethiopian Finance Minister Ahmed Shide signed the cooperation agreement. The so-called multi-annual indicative program should have been concluded in 2021, but was suspended due to the Tigray conflict. Signed every 7 years, they define the priority areas of cooperation between the EU and its partners, including financial allocations.
The multi-annual indicative program, which we are launching today, is the concrete first step towards normalization. It renews the EU's commitment to work together with the EU member states as part of Team Europe to contribute to Ethiopia's stability, post-conflict reconstruction, and macroeconomic recovery.
On Tuesday, several hundred opposition protesters gathered in Ghana's capital, Accra, to denounce the country's lingering economic crisis, blaming it on the central bank governor's policies. Led by the opposition National Democratic Congress, or NDC, minority leader Kaisho Atto Forson, protesters chanted patriotic songs while others blew vuvuzelas, drummed, and danced near ranks of heavily armed police. The protesters waved placards decrying the government's management in Ghana, which is going through its worst economic troubles in years. Dubbed Occupy Buck protest, the opposition leadership says the Bank of Ghana Governor Ernest Addison must resign for overseeing an economy where inflation has hit 40%. Ghana's economic outlook will be a major theme as the country heads to elections next year, with President Nana Akufo-Addo stepping down after his 2 terms allowed by the Constitution.
If the whole country needs $1 billion from the IMF every year for 3 years to fix our problem, and Edison in 1 year can superintend the loss of $5 billion, who is our problem?
This government, they know that they are losing power.
They will not come back.
They have nothing to lose.
Yes.
Hey, if the BOG destroys Ghana, they don't care. If Addison runs Ghana down, they don't care. But we, the people, must care.
We have come to the end of this news briefing, and you can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.